This video will be a response to a question on my less traveled channel. I'll be posting this video to it and to my main channel. This will be the first video in a long time on my less posted channel. And this is concerning the moon landing. A video expert and movie film expert named S.G. Collins, myself, because I'm being brought into this somewhat, tiny bit, and Jarrah White, which is a person who keeps posting videos trying to prove the moon landing didn't happen, and that is literally his entire purpose. Now, I'm going to give everybody the background, and there'll be links below, and you can go ahead and watch these things. In response to all people trying to prove the moon landing didn't happen by saying that it was faked in a studio by a movie maker using film and or video technology for some reason. A man named S.G. Collins, who does video and now does video and also does film work and knows what he's doing, he knows what he's talking about, just like everybody else who's actually been in the business and knows what they're talking about and has actually tried to do any kind of thing similar to this and has tried to do it, like go ahead and create a moon landing hoax, see if you can do it. He's come to the conclusion it's impossible and explains rather clearly why. And it goes on and on for a while, like I do, and then one of many people he had effectively critiqued and proven wrong, by the way. Jarrah White did a response and got mad at him and posted a video which Jarrah White's fans would love because you're sticking it to them, you're proving NASA lies, etc. You know, all the memes that people hear about the moon landing. So S.G. Collins posted a rebuttal video of his statements explaining that number one, Jarrah White took what S.G. Collins said out of context and actually edited stuff together to make it sound like he was saying something that he didn't. And then Jarrah White also just simply posted, you know, low-res images and no links, of course, to manuals and tech reports at the time to prove that you could easily fake the moon landing in ways that you can't. And then S.G. Collins just pointed out, well, you can look on page 3 where it explains this, and you know, don't look at the advertisement copy, look at the actual spec sheet, and the spec sheet says you're wrong, Jarrah. And I posted a video that's even more simple and straight to the point. Dear Jarrah White and everybody else out there, if you really believe that 1960s era, or more accurately 1950s era, because you'd be using older technology because it's more reliable, technology could be used to fake a moon landing, use any of that you wish to for the original moon landing and actually fake a moon landing, period. This is called falsifiability. If the assertion is this isn't fake or couldn't be faked with that technology, all you have to do is use that technology and make sure people can monitor you so you don't cheat, because that is actually happened a lot. And that's not a bias on my part, that's real. You have to be able to fake a moon landing and you have to have it stand scrutiny. That means you shoot all your rolls of film or video raw and you don't erase them or throw them away. There's no such thing as a cutting room floor. Total transparency. One attempt at hiding a fact, you're done. This is the same standard that people are held to when people say NASA always lies. Well, NASA has to prove every nut and bolt. Okay, well, you have to prove every nut and bolt too. And this is the reason that a positive assertion with something behind it versus one with none behind it ends up making people run scared. My video on both channels really made people angry because that is the proof. If you're going to prove that you can fake a moon landing with that kind of technology, it should be insanely easy to do it today. And the answer is you cannot. You should be. Everyone would think you would. It's such an obvious thing. You should be able to fake this stuff. But you really can't. Something always creeps in. If you use film, you see the grain of the film, you see film movement. And we're talking about the video that was shot that day. The video that was shot during the moon landing was slow scan on a screen, filmed or videoed and transmitted over to the television. People didn't have a widespread collection of VCRs at the time. A lot of people now do not know how technologically primitive things were. And yet we were able to land on the moon because the equipment didn't rely on high tech, it relied on reliable technology and recently created stuff that literally they invented a bunch of stuff just to go to the moon. And because of that, well, also to make nuclear warheads fly through the air, but because of that, we benefit from having those technologies now almost like they're just common, ordinary things. There's a bunch of things you have in the way your engine works that was done to get someone to the moon. I don't know if you understand that. And the major one was education. There was a huge drive during the Second World War and afterwards in the Cold War for education, because we needed educated people to be able to create these high-tech items. We don't emphasize education anymore, so we get this sort of stuff. So I'm going to read the request from someone now. That's the background. I don't want to waste too much more time here. Can you explain why Jarrah is wrong about what he says with any facts to back up what you are saying? Now, I'm not saying this person's forcing the issue here, but you're asking me to back up what I'm saying with facts, and can you explain why Jarrah is wrong about what he says with facts that I can use to explain what I'm saying? That's not a subconscious error on your part, or maybe it is. Almost 100% of the people who ask me to debunk somebody because they like them will never listen to the debunking. This is a way of drawing people out, so I'll put Jarrah White's name in a video title so that it gets a higher ranking. But I'm not assuming that in this case, but that's usually what it is. But I'm going to take this at face value. The facts I use to back up what I'm saying are history, recorded, and the fact that there is no plausible explanation that has been brought up that explains it away, because there isn't one. You have to make an assertion and prove it, period. This isn't a banding about where we say, well, you prove it, well, you prove it. That's not acceptable. History at the time, people at the time accepted the fact and understood the fact and were able to double check the fact by watching the stuff happen themselves, and over satellite and video at the time, as primitive as it was. We actually did this and it happened, and that's it. If you're going to try to disprove it, you have to find a way to disprove it. The best way to do it is to at least prove that it can be hoaxed. No one will do that. Or if they do modern technology only, and then they come, well, you don't have a right to tell us how to do this. Yes, we do. Your assertion is it was faked with technology at the time. You can't invent magical time machines to take 1980s technology and take it back to the 1960s. You have to do that. They won't do that because they can't. And there are some really hardcore filmmakers that have tried to do this and failed horribly. But why is Jarrah wrong? I'll get to why he's wrong. And I'm not going to do the backup stack here. Let's go to the next statement you asked. I am really trying to find out the truth, but I'm only getting good examples from one side at the moment and a lot of name-calling and discrediting without real explanation why he is wrong. You're only assuming you're getting good examples from him. You mean prepared, well-orchestrated, market research style stuff. Okay, we're going to go... Stop for a second. I am willing to hear your side. Can you point me to any good direction? The direction you need to go to is history and learning about it, period. First step. No, you don't get to argue. Next, you have to learn enough about astronomy, just a little bit, not astrology. You have to learn that there is no firmament, and that the Earth is not flat, and that satellites exist. I'm not kidding about these parts. These are always the presumptions people come to this with. Now, again, I don't know if this person's saying that, but almost everybody who does this doesn't want to believe the Earth is round and wants to believe the Earth is surrounded by some invisible shell made of glass called the firmament, and that we've never been into space in the first place, because they're contrarians. The rest of them are just people picking an argument, and then some of them are actually asking a very, very good question. The trouble is, if you ask a very good question, you get a very good answer from overwhelmingly large numbers of people who tell you that you can learn this by learning it, not handing it to you. Jarrah White is spoon-feeding you information because he has an agenda to prove the moon landings didn't happen, probably because he wants to believe the Earth is surrounded with a firmament, or that the Earth is flat, or any number of things that he's not really revealing, because Jarrah White has been caught phonying up evidence. Jarrah White will not respond directly to any debunking by addressing what was brought up. He always bends it a little bit. S.G. Collins eventually put out a video replying to him, and because Jarrah White literally took him out of context and did every other trick, including not telling his viewers that on page whatever of the same document he showed, it told everybody that it wasn't able to do what he said it could. And it was a video recorder, by the way. The reason for this is rather simple. Jarrah White is lying. That's the end of the discussion. Once a person starts overtly phoning evidence and lying, we're done. And that is not a standard that people like hearing, especially if they're people who want to believe the moon landing was fake and that NASA always lies. Even though NASA really doesn't lie very often. I mean, there are some examples. But instead of telling me the specific examples of them lying, I know of several, none of you bring it up because you won't look up what they lied about. You just do a blanket statement. They lie all the time. And then you get mad when someone does this to Jarrah White while pointing out when he lied. Well, he only lied 5 times. The standard here for proof is deliberately lopsided because people want to have a certain answer. It's called a presumption. It's called bias. And until you sit there, stare in the mirror and say, I want to believe, therefore I'm ignoring facts, you can't learn anything. And I'm not being mean about this. This is a straightforward thing you should be told early. You can't make the world bow to your will unless you're willing to put a lot more work into it. And now we get to the outliers. We have been launching stuff into space for over 50 years. As a species, we're pretty good at it. We have some reliable cash cow machines that we use to put up satellites with. Even the shuttle really wasn't that good compared to some expendable rockets or reusable rockets. And then the SpaceX tries to launch and blows up with a defective design or an unproven design and destroys a satellite because someone was being a contrarian instead of really testing the shit out of it. Hey, you can get a car that drives itself. And that's an example of AI and all sorts of wonderful things that we could use to land a probe on a comet, which actually happened. Because the further away something lands, the less we can control it. It has to be autonomous. I'm not getting into a car that drives itself, and I'm not going to trust SpaceX. Virgin Galactic has a slightly better record of actually being insanely careful. And even NASA has been guilty of having a culture of not really pointing out when things are broken. There's a difference between being a rebel and trying new stuff and being a fool. There's a difference between tilting at windmills when it's just a windmill and someone saying, no, I'm going to go against the grain of things. There's a mindset in our society that really holds the Don Quixotes and the David and Goliath scenarios on a pedestal. Not noticing that if David could take out Goliath with a rock, everybody should have got off their dead butt and done it earlier because he was hit with a single stone. Or pointing out that Don Quixote is not really accomplishing anything. Jarrah White is attempting to disprove a piece of history for a very specific set of reasons or no reason at all. He is not attempting to make something happen. Even SpaceX at least is trying to accomplish something that would progress something. What does this accomplish? What is this bias? Why is he attracting a group of people that scream very loudly the earth is flat? Because that's the point. We like chipping away at our heroes too. We like tearing them down. Makes us feel stronger, or makes us by ratio better. Maybe that's it. But he has biases. He's been caught lying, like every single one of the others. Everything that's been debunked, he'll just repost a video about it. And then they say, the burden of proof is on the debunkers. No, it's not. Posting the same video someone did 2 years ago explaining that you were wrong isn't going to accomplish anything. Except jacking up the search ranking. Jarrah White has come into this with a bias. Everybody else explaining to him that gravity works, and we've been in space, and we have satellites. They don't have a bias. They're just stating facts because they do this every day. And in the case of S.G. Collins, he just simply explained to him that it's not really possible to do what he's saying is happening. That's all he did. And my rule is simply the same thing. If somebody believes this was hoax, all they have to do is hoax it. This is the same as telling a guy with a perpetual motion machine to build one and let everybody use it for a while to prove it works. That never happens either for the same reason. Because in both cases, the persons making the assertions are just wrong and usually lying. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.